Welcome, everyone, to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm your host, Christine Courtney. Our goal here is to give you some actionable takeaways that will help you lead your teams. Thanks for joining us on this leadership journey. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. It's summertime here at Stepping Into Your Leadership, and we're back with our next episode of some performance discussion scenarios, some difficult conversations. And we have the two experts we have in the house today are Tom Armstrong and Erika Petrelli Bayh. Welcome back, you guys.
Hi.
Thank you.
All right. Last week, I gave them an episode of Jane, the project manager who consistently misses deadlines. But today, we have a new scenario with John, a senior developer interrupting colleagues and not very good behavior in meetings. Are you ready for your scenario? This time we're going to start with Erika's going to go first and then Tom. And then if you guys have been listening for the summer, this is a special episode. If you want a longer deep dive, go back to some of our previous 35 episodes or something if you want even more of us. But right now, this is just a summertime beach read version of Stepping Into Your Leadership. We'll do one scenario, and then we're going to go to a lightning round of questions that these two have not seen before and put them on the spot and see how many questions and answers we can get through in 1 minute. Okay, here we go. Scenario. John. A senior developer has been interrupting colleagues during meetings, dismissing their ideas and creating a hostile atmosphere. During the last team meeting, he interrupted 3 colleagues mid-sentence and openly criticized their suggestions without offering constructive feedback. Several team members have expressed their discomfort and reluctance to share ideas, leading to a decline in team collaboration and innovation. What conversation do you have with John?
Good one.
Erika.
That is a good one. We've all been a John and met a John probably in our life. I mean, that's just the truth.
That sounds terrible, Erika.
That does. Well, you picked his name, Christine, so I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. It is more of a beach read than we thought. Okay.
And we didn't know. So in this case, I'm making an assumption that John is not the meeting or team leader the way you set it up. So he is a senior developer, so he does have expertise, experience. Presumably, he's been on the team for longer than some of the other members. So to continue my initial assumptions, I assume part of this comes from a sense of feeling like he knows perhaps better than a lot of the younger, newer members of the team, what's been tried, what hasn't worked in the past, what will work, really relying on that senior behind his title. But the way you described it, I'm going to make an assumption that there is a leader, a supervisor also present in the meetings, that he himself is not the one leading the meetings. So if that assumption is correct, if I am John's leader, the first time it happens, it's honestly probably not going to be on my radar. It's just going to be like, oh, John, The second or third time, once we start to hear complaints, once I start to notice the other team members shutting down, the meetings are getting quieter. Right after the meeting, I'm going to say, hey, John, do you have a minute for us to talk? And I'm going to say, look, first of all, I value your wisdom and your expertise in this field. We've worked together for X amount of time. I really appreciate your perspective. And I've noticed in the last couple meetings, some of our other team members are not sharing as much. And I've noticed also that your sort of energy can sometimes perhaps be intimidating to the rest of the group. Probably I would pause there and just get his perspective. He may or may not be willing to hear what I'm saying, but I'll know probably right away if he's going to dismiss that or if he's going to be like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize. If he's going to dismiss it, I can't wait to hear what Tom has to say about this. But I'm going to skip the middle and to give that to Tom's expertise and jump to, there's a lot of creative ways you can run a meeting that ensures a little more equality in voice, whether it's people writing down their ideas, putting them in a basket, whether it's some kind of old fashioned talking stick, only when you have the stick do you get to talk, whether it's people writing up on flip chart paper ideas. There's ways as a leader I can equitably bring voices into the room, sort of very intentionally. And that will probably be some of my course of action. Whether or not he's willing or not, there's probably some intentional creativity that I'm going to put into future meetings. But I would love to hear what expert Tom has to say, and then I might share more.
All right. Thank you, expert Erika. Expert Tom.
Wow, that was so good, Erika. Okay, so again, I love Erika's mindset, which is, are there tweaks in the system I can make to ensure, because maybe this isn't about John. Sometimes you talk to John, but there's something in the system that's creating that behavior. And is there something I can tweak in order to empower and more equitably hear the voices of the people in the room? Because you have people that might be shy, but have great ideas. So how do I create an environment And that can be through, having everybody write down 3 ideas and then they share those out. There's different tactics beyond brainstorming. So am I rewarding John for this in the meeting somehow, or encouraging it unintentionally, just through I can engineer this thing a little bit to make it different. That is one approach, and I adore it because it's like, again, focusing on your performance as a leader before even really thinking about theirs. Then considering John, I do think a conversation should happen with him. There's 2 things that I think pitfalls people fall into with this kind of thing. One is they'll kind of like talk about all those points. Some of them are stronger than others. And if you talk to John and if he's feeling at all defensive, he's going to look at the weakest arguments you have and dive right into those.
Yeah.
Well, so what I'll try to do is think about what are my like essential points I need to make, and do I have like quantifiable things I could talk about with them, or specific behaviors? Because the more non-specific I get, the weaker my argument becomes, and the less likely, the more the risk goes up that I will not have a constructive conversation. So I'll narrow it down to the essential points. That's one key before I have the conversation. I think about what that is. The other is, one thing that I have is information from the colleagues. Several, you said, colleagues have complained.
Several.
So I'm not going to lead the conversation with, hey, several people have complained about your da-da-da-da-da. Because then that's also this he said, she said thing. It's a very weak beginning. John's already thinking like, who is it? Who is throwing me under the bus? That's where John's gone. He's not thinking about his behavior anymore. He's thinking about his colleagues' behavior, which he's now finding to be terrible because they have complained about him to the boss, which is a betrayal, right? That's John's perspective. So I'm not going to, unless I absolutely have to mention that for some reason, it's not going to come up in the conversation. My hope is that the situation is kind of like what Erika described, where some senior leader or even myself, that I've been there and I could talk about now what I've observed. Because maybe the feedback I got from the colleagues is like triggers that I need to do something about this because it's impacting the team. But my conversation with him is going to be about what I have observed him do. So if I hear, then I'll go to the next meeting and see if I can observe it. That's what I do all the time. I literally go physically to the thing to see if I can see it. So I can only talk about firsthand, like I'm the prime resource that I'm referring to for this information. And then that's what I talk about with John. It's in a very supportive way. I'm letting him know I believe in him. That's why he has this role. There's this one thing that's impacting the team. From what I can tell, I have to talk about the impact. That's the key focus, so that he understands not only there's a behavior I need to see different from him, but also like this is the impact it's having on the team, because that's, in a weird way, it actually makes you feel connected to your team. Like I know what I'm doing is impacting the team, and that means I can also impact them in a positive way. And that's sort of unifying in its own way. So I let them know the impact. We talk about that. I say, I want to collaborate with you just to figure out how can are there certain things that need to be changed just to make sure that the team feels more supported when you're so excited about this idea that you have, and they're like, cool, let's do it. Cause I'm literally like, it'd be very rare that someone's going to at that point say, I don't need to hear this. You're nitpicking, get off my back. Usually they're going to be like, absolutely. I want to find out how to be better.
Yeah.
One other thing. Can I throw one last thing? I saw this article in the Wall Street Journal about using ChatGPT or some kind of large language model to practice difficult conversations with. And I've been doing it. And I'll just tell the large language model, hey, I want you to role play with me. I have a difficult conversation to have with you. I tell it the scenario, and then I tell it, be defensive, get angry with me. And then I'm replying in a way that's trying to bring it down. It's not a human being. A human being wants me to win, but the large language model is just being what I tell it to be. And it's exceptionally effective. I can't believe how realistic these conversations are that I have with it. And it gives me all kinds of ideas. And then I can also ask it for feedback on how to be better. So like that's one way that AI is not scary. Like it's training me because I'm telling it how to train me on how to have these kind of conversations. Literally, I'll just tell it, this is a situation, let's practice. And it's
well,
really,
for years, Tom, we have suspected that you were a robot, and now this is absolute confirmation.
This is what people should be afraid of: is the robots using the robots, right?
The robots using the robots.
Well, it's true. And Tom sent me his examples of these, Erika, and they're really quite good. So there's only 2 things that I would take differently from what you guys said. One is because I have an HR background. When I hear the term hostile atmosphere or hostile environment, that is a policy concern for you cannot have a hostile workplace. What I would do then is make sure, because a lot of people use terminology that like very flippantly that maybe isn't hostile or violent in any way or aggressive. And so I would have to kind of use it as also an education questioning time with those colleagues that came to say, define what you mean by hostile, because our employee handbook defines hostile this way. Are you feeling unsafe, concerned about your safety, those types of things? And as soon as they say, oh no, well, I guess it's not that. I just don't feel listened to. And I feel like it's just toxic. As soon as they say that, then you can go, okay, because you do not want to write down a note that says that John, he's just being, maybe slightly, unconcerned with how it's affecting people, but he's not, you don't want that in his notes, right? Yeah. That he has created a hostile environment. So that would be one. And then two, I think, what you guys said is great. That like, what do you, Tom, you are a leader, right? I mean, John, sorry, Tom, this isn't you. John, you are a leader.
Cool. I see what's going on.
Now we know.
Assuming he's a senior leader, again, get him on your side of the table. I need your help in these meetings. I'm noticing that a lot of times, because you've been around like I have, we know how some of these ideas that we've tried over and over again, how they've failed. These guys don't know this. They've got to let them get through their whole idea first, because it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about how we grow our folks. And you as a senior person and me as a senior leader have to help grow these people. And some of it is not us telling them what's right or wrong, but them going through that process. And so I think once he's on it, then I say next time, for example, when they bring up stuff, let them go through their whole idea. Let's not interrupt them and see what happens. Check in with them afterwards of like, hey, senior leader, how did that go with us? So that I agree with Erika. He needs a place of pride. He needs a place of like, all these new people are coming in. I need to be sure they know how much knowledge I have. And presumably he does. So you do need him.
Now, the other scenario that we didn't really kind of speculate through is that it's a team of equal peers. So it's all senior leaders. And John just doesn't really care to hear anyone else's perspective
over and over and over again.
Maybe really has no time for the meeting. There's a slight tweak to this scenario that we really haven't played out. And in that case, it really is another topic for another meeting is meetings themselves and how often the meeting leader hasn't really put any structure or really solid structure together on how that conversation will proceed. So I would just throw out that if it is a peer table of senior leaders, that the only way through this, if it's truly just in this meeting scenario, it's not that John is a belligerent, untenable person in every aspect of life. If it's just really in these meetings, it's on the leader to say, this is the point of the meeting. Here's how we're going to set up the conversation. Here's how we're going to divide the time between all of the members of the team today. So it's back to there's specific ways as the leader. It could just be, Christine, you're going to get the first 15 minutes. Then we're going to go to Tom. Then we're going to go to, so I just want to put out.
Yeah, it also might be, you just brought up a good point that made me think, like, you may have to have a conversation. Like, I'm imagining this, let's say with our executive team, you might have to have a conversation with them of like, how can we do these meetings better? And then you as the leader, take some of this, take notes, because a lot of it's going to be about you because they wish that you were behaving differently. Right.
Right.
So also, I think to your point, Erika, that's great. Like, how are you monitoring it? How are you creating good meeting practices? But also, John may be frustrated that these are always, let's say, brainstorming meetings and not enough tactics or not enough action steps or not enough getting to the point that he is trying in his terrible way, but he is trying to get them to a point of action or a point of like, can we stop talking about this stuff that isn't real? And like, let's just get to it.
Right.
So if he knew what type of meeting it was, maybe that would also help. And that's kind of a conversation you can have with everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Good one, you guys. All right. So now we're going to go to a lightning round. Are you ready? All right.
Sure.
So again, a lightning round is I'm going to ask them some questions on leadership. I'm putting my timer on right now. We have 1 minute to get through as many questions and answers as we can. All right. So here we go. Last time we got through 2. Let's see how we do this time. It's hard. They have no idea, honestly, what I'm going to ask. Okay. I'm going to start this time. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. You did Erika last
Okay.
time.
Tom's going to go first on the first one. Erika will go first on the second one. Okay. Here we go. On your mark. Get set, go. What's the best piece of leadership advice you've ever received?
This is a funny one. As you grow in your leadership, expect it to be like more painful. Like the more, I don't want to use foul language, but the more crap you eat as you grow in your leadership.
All right, Erika.
Well, it's a similar one, and I feel like it's come from you in a multitude of ways over the years, but this idea that the idea is not to go from 0 to perfect, that we're actually going to continuously fail and be bad, but we're going to be bad differently. Like as a leader, to expect that your journey is going to be filled with failures, just make sure they're different failures. that you're failing better, that you're failing differently, failing in new ways.
Okay, Erika, what's the biggest leadership myth you think that's out there?
100% that leaders need to hold the microphone at all times and know all the things, be all knowing and all speaking. That idea of a leader is stale, old, and misguided.
All right, Tom, quick, because we're over a minute.
Yeah, that you get respect by being sort of dominant.
Yeah. All right, great. We're going to stop there. 2 questions is so far our number,
That's
our
all
highest
we can
number.
get to.
That was 1:15, but that's okay. Those were some good pieces of advice and some good myths out there. Thank you so much, Tom and Erika, for being with us. Thanks to our producers, Tatiana and Richard. And we'll see you guys again soon in the studio for our summertime version of Stepping into Your Leadership. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'd like to give a special shout out to our podcast producer, Richard Francisco. Check out our notes for any details. And if you get anything out of this, please follow us. And if you enjoy it, please take a moment to rate us or write a comment. It will mean the world to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you just can't get enough, follow me on TikTok and check out tlpnyc.com/podcast for more information.